There's 5 things you really need to know before you start a keto diet. First, in fact, number 1 is the most important and also a must know. This is what you have to know before you start a keto diet, and that is, what is a keto diet? Now, you just ask anybody on the street, and almost everybody thinks they know what a keto diet is. But I think that probably the majority of people, even people who have been successful on keto diets, probably don't know what a keto diet truly is. The problem comes about because a keto diet is a low-carb diet, but a low-carb diet is not necessarily a keto diet. A keto diet really means that your body is producing ketones. And if your body's not producing ketones, you're not on a keto diet. And this is why so many people say, oh, I tried keto, it didn't work for me. Oh yeah, I did low carb and I didn't lose any weight. Yes, well, low carb is not the same as keto. And if you weren't producing ketones, you weren't on the keto diet. So absolutely, you got to understand what a keto diet is if you want to be on a keto diet and be successful. The second thing is, if you have to be producing ketones to be on a ketogenic diet, well, how do we do that? And the way that we do it is we reduce carbohydrate intake sufficiently so that our body begins to access our stored fat and we produce ketones. That's the way it works. Now, we're all a little different because some people can reduce that number of carbohydrates to, let's say, 75 total grams a day. Some people may have to do 50. Some people may need to do 20. We're all a little different. We're all the same in this sense. We'll all enter a state of metabolic ketosis at some point. Where we're all different is the amount of reduction we need in carbohydrate intake. And this is very important. That carbohydrate intake needs to be total grams of carbohydrates. A lot of people talk about net carbs, but there's a terrible trap that people fall into because of all the new processed stuff, which is what we're going to talk about next. So remember this. Most people, you can begin to produce ketones if you cut your total carbohydrate intake back to 50 grams a day. And maybe at some point you can go up from there. My wife can certainly eat more carbohydrates than I can. Some people need to go less. My total carb intake is probably less than 20 total grams of carbs a day. But again, we're all a little different in there. That's kind of the range. It may take you a little while to find your place, but most people, under 50 total grams of carbohydrates a day, you will begin to produce ketones and you will lose weight because your body will absolutely access your stored fat. It will begin to burn it. It will produce ketones and you will have success on the keto diet. The third thing to remember is no keto crap. And what I mean by that is what I referenced just a moment ago. You go to the grocery store today, there's keto stuff everywhere. There's keto bread and keto tortilla shells, and there's keto fat bombs, and there's keto candy bar, and there's keto cake, and at some point there'll be keto Fruit Loops. Who knows? Because when keto gets big, everybody wants to make a buck, right? So there's all kinds of this keto stuff and keto protein drinks and keto what. Look, none of that stuff is necessary, and some of it's actually detrimental. What you need to do is you need to eat real food on the keto diet. Real meat, real fat, real vegetables, real fruit. If that's what you need to eat, it's real food, not processed, not packaged, not barcoded. It doesn't come in a bag or a box. It's actually real food. So it is a trap that people fall into because they see the word keto and they think, oh, well, that must be keto. Well, no, it's not keto. It's just stuff. It's not real. Get rid of it. Don't buy it. Save yourself some money. Eat real food. Real butter, real eggs, real beef, real chicken, real vegetables, real fruit. Just remember, under total carbohydrate intake of 50 grams a day. That's where you are. Number 4, this is actually a great thing to know. It's both important, especially in the beginning, but it's incredibly liberating and satisfying later on. There is no counting calories or portion control in keto. In fact, it's very important that you don't count calories or portion control. That's not how the keto diet works. The keto diet works because we stop eating thousands of calories every day of highly processed carbohydrates. We eat nutrient-dense, real food. You don't count calories, you don't portion control, nothing. Now, there are a few things you need to remember in the very beginning, and these are pretty important, especially when you first start, but later on, it just becomes a natural part of life. When you're hungry, you eat, but you eat meals. That's important. If you're hungry, eat, but eat a meal. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Now, it becomes natural later on, but a lot of people find out that carb addiction is a real thing when they start a keto diet. People eat out of boredom. People eat out of habit. People emotionally eat. People binge eat. All of that stuff you really got to be aware of in the beginning because, it's a real thing. The key here is when you eat a meal of real food and you eat until you're full. I mean, comfortably stuffed full. When you're hungry, eat again. Don't snack. Try not to eat late at night. You eat your last meal of the day at 6, 7 o'clock, fine. Eat until you are stuffed. Don't eat again. Try to control the snacking, the comfort food, the habit eating, and all of those kind of things. There'll come a time when that's less of an issue for you. In fact, there'll come a time most people discover when they're on a keto diet, they actually eat much less often. So my time is probably split pretty evenly between half the time I eat 1 meal a day, half the time I eat 2 meals a day. I never eat 3 times a day anymore, ever. I eat the first time usually around noon, sometimes 1, 2 o'clock, and then I will eat again later in the evening. Sometimes if I'm not hungry, I don't eat until 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I won't eat again. But when I'm hungry and when I eat, I don't care about what I put on my plate. I mean, as long as it's real food. I don't portion control. I don't count calories. I have no idea how many calories I eat. I eat until I am stuffed. Sometimes until I literally cannot put another piece of bacon in my mouth. And then I am full and I am satisfied. I don't get hungry later. And if I'm not hungry, I don't eat. That's what you do. Number 5, there are a lot of health benefits to being on the keto diet that are not just about weight loss. A lot. And the scientific research and the medical studies and papers that have been published on this, they're increasing all the time. There's new stuff coming out almost daily. Constant new information about the benefits of this. Type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disorders, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, insulin resistance. It improves brain function in people with cognitive diseases. It raises the good cholesterol, the HDL cholesterol, and it lowers triglycerides. It improves the LDL particle size. And there's just a host of other things. Research that has come out that actually shows that this type of diet really is beneficial health-wise. So it's not just about losing weight, it's about overall health. You actually get healthier, not just because you've lost the weight, but because of all of these other improvements to your health because of that. Now, part of that is related to the fact that you just cut out all the junk. Highly processed, refined carbohydrates with seed oils and all that kind of artificial sweeteners, all that kind of stuff is terrible for the body. And so part of the benefits, sometimes depending on which particular issue you're looking at, comes from just the elimination of all that junk. And some of it actually comes from the production of ketones and lowering insulin levels in the body and the reduction in glucose in the bloodstream and all of those types of things. But when you combine both of those things together, there are just a huge amount of health benefits of being on the keto diet. So that's the 5. Now, there is one more, So this is the bonus. The sixth thing that you should know, it's not expensive. It is one of the things that keeps people from starting the keto diet is they say, well, I can't afford to do it. Look, you don't have to buy USDA certified organic, grass raised and finished beef ribeye to be on the keto diet. That's not the way it works. Look, if you have to buy hot dogs to be on keto, that's better than Twinkies and Ho-Hos. If that's the best meat you can buy it. If you got to buy deli meat to be on keto, buy it, right? You buy the best food that you can afford. That's what you do. There's no rule. Yeah, is it best to buy grass-fed ribeye? Sure, but we can't afford that. Probably most of you can't afford that. So buy what you can afford. Here's what most of us can't afford. We can afford eggs, at least depending on what they are currently in the grocery store. We can buy beef, ground beef. I mean, most of us can afford that. We can buy hot dogs if we need to. You can afford sardines if you need to. That's actually really good. Get those in water, by the way, not in soy oil. The other thing that you'll learn is when you cut out all the junk that you eat, all of the processed food, you stop buying cases of Mountain Dew, and you stop buying Fruit Loops and Ho-Hos, and you stop buying ice cream, and you get rid of all the junk that you buy all the time to eat. Guess what? That's a big chunk of money. And now you can take that money and actually buy real food. You can buy real meat and real butter and real eggs and real vegetables, and you can eat a ketogenic diet. You'll find, in fact, this is what we have found. We actually spend less money now on groceries than we did before, just because we've eliminated all the excess junk that we buy. And when you begin to go through your refrigerator and your counters and you look at your list with a critical eye, you're going to realize the amount of junk that we buy is a lot. So those are 6 things. I didn't cover a lot of these in detail, but if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. I'm going to actually go back and do some of these videos a little more in depth so that, I talk about it in a little more detail. But I want to try to keep these videos fairly short because I know that most people's attention span is not that long, and maybe I'm not that engaging. But anyway, comments, let me know. Hopefully this helps. We'll see you next time.